Good evening, you fantastic and glorious human beings of this floating rock that we call Earth. Welcome back to Off the Wire. I am your host, Noella Lynn, aka the Cajun Libertarian, and we have an absolutely phenomenal show packed for you tonight with special guests that I did not let you know about ahead of time because this is how awesome things are going to be. Before we get started, please like, share, and subscribe to the episode because we are a small time podcast and we need big time helpers. So please share the show, like it, let them know that this is a great source of truthful, honest information that can actually help people on a ground based level. We are entering dire times right now. And what we need more than anything is for people like you to be engaged and share the show and promote the people that I have on the show so that we can actually accelerate the liberty for human beings all across the world. Go to whotouchedit.com. That's whotouchedit.com. Who Touched the Thermostat on Twitter and all social media. Whotouchedit.com for the best political shirts. I am wearing one right now. I have many. It's incredible. Dangerous liberty over peaceful slavery is the one that I have now. Now, before we get started, let me dissect something that is dominating social media and the news headline right now. And that is a comedian per the name of Tony Hinchcliffe that I have been following for a couple of years now. And if you want to ask my wife for verification, please do. For 2 years now, after I found the show called Kill Tony, I knew immediately that it would be comedians that said enough is enough. And they would save free speech. It wasn't Elon Musk buying Twitter. It was comedians. And I called this 2 years ago. And that's what we are seeing right now. The pushback from the culture of comedians is astronomical. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with Tony's dialogue at the Trump rally or the Nazi rally. Come on with that. Good grief. You're hurt. Listen, Democrats, you're hurting yourselves. You're destroying your movement You can't call these people Nazis. That's ridiculous and outrageous. Call people out on their merits, not accusatory nonsense. Okay? But 2 years ago, I called it. When I found this show called Kill Tony, it's now the #1 live podcast on YouTube. The #1 live podcast in the world on YouTube is Kill Tony, with Tony Hinchcliffe as the propagator, the originator, the creator. Guys, brilliant. You could be mad about what just happened at the Republican convention. That's okay. But if you're mad about jokes from one of the best roast comedian, the best roast comedian in the world, let me help you out. You are helping Trump. Real people don't live on Twitter. Real people like jokes, and they're not offended by them. Essentially, what I would boil the Democratic Party down to as of today would be wholly that they're out of touch with normal people. Why? Case in point, you can't even take a joke, man. You got to redirect course here. We need a sane Democratic Party to counter the inflammatory Republican Party parts. So, sack up, grow a set. They're called jokes. And the vast majority of people love them. So grow up, grab your sack, and get on board. Because what you're doing right now, whether it be intentionally or not, is helping Donald J. Trump. Now, let's get to our guest of the evening, which is going to be absolutely incredible. One of my good friend, great friend of mine over the years, Spike Cohen's #1 man, one of my best friends in politics for sure, is Brian Scott Lambert.
It is so good to see you, and you opened up talking about humor and jokes. I'm going to tell you right now to everybody who's watching, who's listening, no jokes on today's episode. None. No humor, no laughing, no smiling. You wipe that smile off your face. We're going to be very serious. We're going to be straightforward, and we're going to make sure this show is sanitized for everybody who's listening so nobody gets offended.
Well, there's already 51 concurrent viewers. So.
They're all offended. They're all mad. They are all upset right now at how this is going. That is fantastic.
So what are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
As libertarians, we staunchly support both sides being freaking just the minimal standard of saying. Just the basic just be basically sane. And here we are spending 3 days in the news cycle talking about the greatest roast comedian of my lifetime making jokes.
Which I am surprised that it's going on for 3 days when we're so close to the election that there's very little else to talk about in the news. That's what surprises me. But how are you doing, man? How are you doing? The last time we saw each other was just a little over 2 years ago in South Carolina. We were at an event. We were doing stuff. How have you been? Things have been happening in your life, haven't they? You've been busy.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you. Yeah, now, and to clarify for everybody, listen, the last time Brian and I met were in person at the South Carolina convention. Look, a lot has been happening. We bought a house. We had another baby. I quit the show for a while, and then when I uploaded the show, it's more popular and wilder than I could have ever imagined. Things are going great over here. Jesus is king. It's amazing. How about you?
I think that was good for you. It allowed you to recharge your batteries. I've been busy. I'm on a whole new career. I've got a whole new life trajectory that I've been doing. And part of that trajectory involves a trip. I don't know which way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a loop, but I'm going to go down the Natchez Trace. I'm going to visit a buddy in Mobile, and I'm going to visit you on the way back up, or I'll visit you on the way down, and then take the Natchez Trace on the way back up here to Nashville. I'm residing in Nashville. So glad I'm out of Chicago. I love Chicago, but Chicago does not love me back. Illinois is a state that you have to escape from. I'm loving the way things are going here in Nashville, and I love the 2 jobs I got. You know the 2 jobs I got. I work for Spike, and through Spike, you are the power, and that's a whole other discussion we can have some other time, because we've been really kicking it and solving some cases, helping people get their freedoms back, helping people get their children back. There's been some incredible stuff going on. And the other organization, that's what we're focusing on today, is Students for Liberty, SFL, which, there's all these liberty organizations all across the country. There's all these conventions, all these groups that do things, and some of them are amazing. And I look up to them, and I'm astounded at the kind of work some of these organizations get done. But the beauty of Students for Liberty is it's international and works with college students. And I'm amazed in my own company when I see the kind of things that are happening in Africa, across Europe, in South Asia, across the Middle East. We've even got a new thing going on in Australia. It just amazes me how busy Students for Liberty is, how many amazing, compassionate, excited people we have working on spreading message of liberty and freedom, economic freedom, freedom of movement, freedom of speech. Everybody fights these battles all across the world, and it's great to be a part of that in some small way in what I do over at Students for Liberty.
That's awesome. What exactly have you been able to accomplish at Students for Liberty? Is this like a voting apparatus?
It's well, you know what? It's a nonprofit, but there is somebody that I brought with me today that can talk about this and answer this question if you want to ask him. Do you have another guest waiting in the back room, Noel?
Ironically, I just found one. Let's bring him in. Andre Freo.
Oh my God, I wasn't expecting that.
I should have warned you. I'm sorry. I meant to text you and tell you were going to be on the show tonight. That's my apologies.
Man, I was just passing by my computer. Thank God I was here at the end of the day. But guys, what a pleasure being here. What a pleasure being here with you today.
No, thank you for being here, Andre. You were just passing by your computer like Tim Walz passes by a boy's restroom and puts tampons in there. Now, thank you both for joining me. So you're at Brian and Andre. Explain to us the corporation or the institution that you're organizing, that you're with, and what your goals are, and how we can help.
Well, thank you so much, man. But SFL, I mean, I get it, even somewhat emotional talking about the organization because I'm a product of the organization here in Brazil. SFL was founded in 2008, and our mission is quite simple: is to educate, develop, and empower the next generation of leaders of liberty. And we do that currently in 108 countries in every continent. And our students are well equipped, well versed in our ideas. They go out, they do events, they promote our ideas through social impact, through events, universities. And for the past 10 years, I've been an SFL. I started as a volunteer in the city I come from. It's a small city in the southernmost state of Brazil. And over the past 10 years, I've been deeply involved with the organization, seeing our success stories all over the world, seeing people get elected, seeing people opening their business and turning them into multi-millionaire enterprises. And currently, Brian and I are working together, and I appreciate him so much because it's been nothing but a joy to work with.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
We're working together to bringing LibertyCon 2025 into reality. And we want to talk a little bit about that too, because LibertyCon is our international conference. It happens in Brazil, in Europe, but the one in DC brings us back to the very first years of our history. Back then in 2009, when we hosted the first conference under another name, and it was rebranded in 2017 to LibertyCon. Next year's event We'll be in DC Super Bowl weekend, so it'll be a pleasure to talk a little bit more about it.
Excellent. So let me ask you this: being in Brazil specifically, watching American politics, what is your view? What is your perspective on what's happening here in the U.S., considering that we have less now at literally 1 week until the presidential election? Is this something that looks the ideas and the things that have happened over the last over the course of the last several months? Is there anything that reflects what you experienced in Brazil, like with Bolsonaro and the previous election? What does it look like to you?
1,000%. 1,000%. Brazil is 2 years behind the US. You elected Trump in 2018. We elected Bolsonaro in 2018. You elected Biden in 2020. We elected the Workers' Party corrupted president we have now, again, Lula. And now we're just waiting. And we even had war January 6th. Here it was January 8th when Lula came into power in 2023. So we're just waiting. You tell me what it looks like, because I need to prepare for the next 2 years, because our national elections are in 2026. But honestly, let me say this. From down here, the outcome of the election is still uncertain. I believe for you guys, it's probably the same. It's leaning, we believe it's leaning towards Trump, but at the same time, who knows? For us, it's unbelievable that you don't ask for an ID for voters. That is weird as it comes for Brazilians, because for us it's quite simple. You can take your driver's license or any other form of ID and you get to vote. You sign off and you get to vote. So for us, that and everything that comes with it now in this election, with everything that we're seeing on the news, it's quite odd. But honestly, I think at this point we're here in Brazil, we're just waiting to see what the outcome will be so we can prepare for 2026.
That and to me that's kind of wild, right? Like, what a foreign country is waiting for the outcome of the American election is crazy to me. Has this been a story of your whole life? Like, in your country, does everything kind of reciprocate and revolve around the American
No,
elections?
no, not at all. That started in 2016 with Trump and the new movement that came with him. So for us, and I believe for many countries at this point, because we saw leaders getting elected after Trump, trying to replicate what he did, especially using how he leveraged his relationship, his, of course, poor relationship with the media, for obvious reasons, to make something click in people's minds. People who were just sitting in their porch, having a drink or something, and weren't thinking that much about election day and about what comes with an election. And that same feeling was replicated in Brazil in 2018 for the national election. Added, and there for us there was another layer. There's very local, which is the corruption scandals that happened in 24 from that were made public from 2014 on. Brazilians took the streets. We said enough is enough for corruption. We cannot take a fifth. Let me see. 22. We cannot take a fifth term of the Workers' Party in power, or otherwise we'll be much closer to Venezuela than from other from a developed country. But at the same time, Bolsonaro had his missed opportunities, some very serious ones, that led him to not be reelected in 2022, giving the power back to the Workers' Party.
So considering all that, why did Lula get elected? Or was it partially maybe a fraudulent election, or I'm trying to be careful here.
There were claims about it, but let's face it, he is one of the most popular, if not the most popular character in Brazilian politics, and he knows how to play the game. He knows how to play the game with the institutions. He knows how to play the game with the media, and he was not supposed to run till the year before the election in 2022, and that would be like a landslide win for Bolsonaro if he didn't run. Even with them both running, it was a 51, because here it's popular vote, right? So it was 51 at 49%. It was something like that. It wasn't more than 52-48, the difference at the end of the day, and Bolsonaro unfortunately lost. I believe up until now that Bolsonaro lost because of the votes from the central right or the central left, who could have voted for him if he wasn't so much of a character and wasn't, well, wasn't too much like Trump at that point. Because also here we were playing that it was the same thing. The media coverage was pretty much the same or very similar to what happened in the American elections, and it's happening again, right? You were saying in the beginning all this crazy coverage of Trump's rally at the Madison Square Garden, and thinking that will have a positive outcome for the Democratic Party is just nuts. People don't care about that. People care about prices going up. People care about housing prices, which I know is a big problem now, especially for students and for young people in America. Correct me if I'm wrong. People care about real life. And bringing it back just briefly to War Event there in DC. War Event will be 2 weeks after inauguration. It's It's February 7th and 8th. So we'll likely see DC still fuming, right? And trying to understand whoever gets elected and what the next steps are for the first 100 days of that person in power. So we decided on a theme from impossible to inevitable for the conference, just to actually make a historic check at first, reminding ourselves as libertarians that we are the heirs now of people who fought against slavery, censorship, socialism, subjugation of women, and many other statist ideas that led half of all of our countries, or almost half of our countries, to still believe in those ideas, which is nonsense. So we got to take a step back, and we'll do that through the event. Remind ourselves of these stories, and also think about the stories that will come next. What are the next things that are currently impossible, like taking a joke maybe, and making them inevitable again?
Nice. Okay, so real quick, let's recap. What is the organization that we're wanting to engage, and how can we do that? Give us that information. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to give you and Brian both the screen. I want to know what the organization is, and I want to know what their main price points are. Go.
Right.
You talk about what SFL does around the world. You're the programs guy. You talk about that, and I will make a pitch for LibertyCon.
Sounds good. If you want to do all pitches, I mean, I'm just standing back because I love hearing your voice. And that's my love letter to you now, live here for everybody. If you're hearing this in 3 days, nice. My opinion may have changed, but that's a conversation for later. So Students for Liberty is the largest pro-liberty student organization in the world. We're in 108 countries. We have more than 2,500 volunteers who fight for liberty every day. They fight for liberty in their universities, in their communities, in their regions, counties, everywhere. And just to give you one example to make this like very visual to all of you. A few months ago, Bangladesh was in Bangladesh. Sorry, one of our main volunteers there, who is now nominated for Student of the Year. Even he had to attend an event we were hosting in Nairobi, a training on objectivism, rational philosophy, and project management. And Rashid had to hop in the back of an ambulance and be escorted through protests and police riots that were trying to, pretty much the president there, he cut off internet power to avoid people from protesting against his government. Rashid had to hop in the back of an ambulance, go to the airport through a back entrance, hop on a plane, and go to Nairobi for our in-person training. That is the kind of volunteer we have in our organization. People who prefer, and Noah, let me just take a look again at your T-shirt right there. To leave a dangerous liberty than basically in slavery. These is the kind of volunteer we have spread across 108 countries. Our mission, again, is to educate, develop, and empower the next generation of these leaders who are in every country, man. They're everywhere. They just need an opportunity, and that's what we give them in the US and everywhere around the globe.
There's so many stories that I see in the chat that it's sometimes hard to keep up with. And I get impressed when I see these kids in countries in Venezuela. There's a girl in Venezuela. There's so many stories that I'm thinking of, and I don't want to say them because I don't want to get them wrong, because I get them confused. But there are kids that will get arrested. They'll take part in a protest and they'll be attacked with violence in part by their government because they don't like what they're saying, because they're speaking for the right of free speech, for the media to accurately report what's going on. And instead, media and journalists are being silenced on what's taking place in some of these countries. These kids are pretty badass. And they do some incredible things that, quite frankly, I wish we had more of that here in the US. But there's some incredible people fighting some battles. And it kind of starts with SFL, where they get the tools, they get the knowledge, they get the leadership, and then they can develop those skills that I see going to events, learning things, learning how to talk to media, learning how to host their own events. Many of them go off to start their own nonprofits, their own organizations afterwards, and then we'll work with them in tandem afterwards. It's some impressive stuff. I wish I could give you examples, but I came prepared to talk about LibertyCon. So yeah, but go ahead, Andre.
Bro, let me give you just two examples that happened this week in North America. In Canada, our chapter from West Canada finally received their petition against the carbon tax in Canada, received over 1.1 thousand signatures, over 5,000 attendees, and a dozen applications. They will have an MP present the petition to Parliament in the upcoming weeks. In Canada, if I'm not mistaken, the election is probably by the end of this year, early next year, maybe. So we're right there, or students are right there on the ground trying to get rid of the carbon tax in Canada, and they're doing a fantastic job.
Wait. Hold on. I think everybody needs to know, importantly, when you reference the term quote unquote carbon tax, can you explain that and what kind of detriment that would have on society or positivity? Either way, when you invoke that term carbon tax, that needs to be fleshed out, in my opinion. What does that look like? How would it affect citizens of every country invoking it in a positive or negative manner? What are your thoughts?
So Canada's carbon, and I have some notes here as well, so that's why I'm looking at them.
Perfect. No, it's great.
Canada's carbon tax is a national price on greenhouse gas emissions that they say aims at increasing the cost of burning fossil fuels, encourage cleaner alternatives, and reduce emissions. But let me tell you what I'll have the link to our students' petition and all the details sent to you right after this call. this call I'm too used to our meetings.
No, you're
Jesus.
good.
Yeah, I'll have it sent to you the details so your audience can also access it and get more educated on what our students are doing there in Canada. And at the same time, this morning, a few of our American students, they submitted our first ever regulatory comment to the Department of Commerce in the US. The comment analyzed and critiqued the department's proposed ban on all Chinese connected vehicle components. And the department is legally required to read, post, and most likely respond to such comments. So we'll have a few updates there in the upcoming weeks as well.
Perfect.
So we have things happening all over the world. Our students, only this fiscal year that started in May 1st, they have already organized 1,607 events to promote liberty and advance our ideas. So that is pretty wild on its own. Now, Brian, take it away.
Oh my goodness, take it away. So, and this, do you see why I brought Andre to the meeting now, Noel?
Oh, I already knew.
This is what he because he's on the front lines of programs, and now we're working on LibertyCon. So let's talk about LibertyCon. LibertyCon is the flagship event that Students for Liberty does every year. It moves around once in a while, but it's generally been in DC, and it's going to be in DC next year. It's going to be the weekend of February 7th and 8th. 2025, and it's going to be at the Westin in Washington, D.C., the downtown location of the Westin, because there's two of them. We've made that mistake. But it's going to be at the downtown Westin Hotel, February 7th and 8th, and it's going to be packed with some pretty good stuff. We're going to have some excitement. We're going to have some breakout sessions. There's going to be some training going on, and we're going to have some live music. There's an awards dinner. It's going to have a lot of things going on, and right now you can go and check out all of the speakers that we have, and I'll run through some of them now, but all of the speakers we have at Liberty.
How can I find that?
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
LibertyCon.com. LibertyCon, like LibertyConvention.com. So one of the speakers we have is activist and musician Daryl Davis. Do you know who Daryl Davis is? Most people don't know the name, but you know the story. Daryl Davis is a musician, still playing today, still touring, still doing shows, that made a name for himself playing with Chuck Berry back in the day, Jerry Lee Lewis, doing a lot of old style rock and roll, blues, jazz. And he made a name for himself as a touring working musician, playing with a lot of these bands. And he tells the story better than I can tell it. But what he's known for doing is converting about 200 Klansmen from leaving the KKK by basically confronting them and having conversations with them. I believe the story he first tells is playing a gig where somebody's applauding him, and then during a break he goes and talks to the crowd because I'm a musician. That's what you do. You're on stage. It's actually kind of lonely, and then you go and you work the room a little bit. And he met a guy, and they were having a conversation, and then he found out that the guy was a member of the KKK, and he started asking questions. And they had a conversation. It led to more conversations with more people. And little by little, over years, he managed to convince over 200 Klansmen, specifically in the Maryland area, all over there up in the Northeast, to quit. And many of them handed over their outfit, their robes and their hood to him. And I think he might even be bringing one of them out to bring on stage, which to me is kind of shocking to see it in person. But he will be kicking off Friday night talking about how you can take something from hate and turn it into compassion with understanding and communication. Almost through the communicate. I mean, sitting in words are the important thing, but I love that he's a musician because I think that adds another angle to it. And it fits in perfectly with the theme, which reminds me, Andre, what is the theme this year for LibertyCon?
I'll say it again, and I'll say it 1,000 times if I have to. It's from impossible to inevitable. And Daryl himself that's him at the end of the day. And that is the kind of story, as I said before, that we cannot forget so we can replicate in the future. In new battles, we'll have to fight for freedom. In new battles, we'll have to fight for our ideals and what we stand for.
And you're going to see that throughout the whole convention. You'll see that theme be repeated throughout the whole convention with the different guests we have, the different panels, the discussions we're going to do. Some of the other people I'm looking at, so we have Daryl Davis. We're going to have actor Mark Pellegrino. Most people might know him from the show Lost. More recently, he played Lucifer on the show Supernatural. Has a big fan base in the sci-fi world from Supernatural, and he is a big free market advocate. Him and Spike actually did a debate almost a year ago down in LA together. They did a little debate about what the purest form of a free market would look like. And it's hilarious because they had disagreements, but they were like agreeing 95% of the time. But Spike Cohen went down to LA and debated Mark Pellegrino, and it was a great discussion that they had. But Mark is going to be back. He's going to be on stage. We're going to have actor Brando Eaton. Brando Eaton's done a lot of voiceover acting. I think it was Alvin and the Chipmunks. He did some stuff there. He played a detective, I believe, in the show Dexter. He's also got a wide range of things under his belt. Huge entrepreneur. Last time I talked to him, the guy had 11 businesses and organizations that he had started. And I love people. I love that when people have energy and they're just doing things and keeping themselves active because they love it. Because they love it and they love the surge of being an entrepreneur. Lars Mapsted's also going to be there. And Lars Mapsted, many people remember, ran as one of the Libertarian Party presidential candidates. Lars is a serial entrepreneur. He is a guy that had an idea a long time ago, and he will tell his story about growing up in a home in California, rural California, where his bathroom was an outhouse in the backyard. And now the guy races cars as a hobby because he just created one business from another, had some successes along the way, invests in everything. He's going to be amazing. We're going to hear people like Lars and Brando talk about business and investments and being an entrepreneur. And we're going to talk about, oh my goodness, we have wrestlers that are going to be at this convention, Noel. Do you ever watch wrestling?
Not really, no, but I follow it enough to know.
Well,
I was never a fan, bro. I was always a fan. I'm a lifelong athlete. At the risk of sounding arrogant,
why are you sounding defensive? You don't need to be defensive over this.
Because this is wrestling, man.
But no one's gonna wrestle you.
I know how people look at wrestling fans. Okay, I've been a wrestling fan my whole life. We have two wrestlers that are coming out. First of all, I think everybody should know both of these, but most libertarians in the liberty space know who Glenn Jacobs is. You know Glenn Jacobs?
Yeah, mayor of a city in Tennessee. He was
Knox County.
Major wrestler.
Knox County, where Knoxville is in Tennessee.
I'd love to have him on the show, by the way. Yeah, he's great.
He is outstanding when he talks about economics, free market economics. He is an Austrian economist. If people want to look up Glenn Jacobs talking about this, you'd never guess that this is the same guy that I saw 25 some odd years ago with a big mask on his face, walk down to the ring with flames around him, tear the steel cage door off of the steel cage in the ring, go in there and tombstone his brother, The Undertaker. Also legit. Look, you got to just understand how wrestling is. But the guy is an Austrian economics fan. He has some autographs, and he actually has a poster in his office because I've been in his Knoxville County office. And I believe it's got like Rothbard and Keynes and oh my goodness.
Is he going to be there?
Has what?
Is he going to be there?
No, I'm just talking about him. This has nothing to do with. Yes, he's going to be there at LibertyCon. You got to come out to LibertyCon, Noel. Yeah, he's going to be one of.
I can't come
I was hijacking the show to talk about wrestling, is what I was doing. No. Mayor Glenn Jacobs is going to be there, and he's going to be one of our featured speakers. Not sure exactly where he's going to wind up yet because we're still working out the details because we got so many great opportunities coming up. I'm excited about it. But Mayor Glenn Jacobs is going to be there. The other wrestler we're going to have, not elected to office, he's still wrestling, actually. He went by the name Dolph Ziggler in WWE. His name is Nick Nemeth.
Oh, I know that name.
Nick Nemeth.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nick Nemeth is, I believe he's the current world champion in TNA wrestling, Impact Wrestling, total nonstop action wrestling. He's the current world champion there. He does a lot of things. He does stand-up comedy. He's all over the place. He's another one that likes to keep himself busy. And he actually had a crazy year this last year because he was with the WWE for 20 years. And this last year, he's been kind of independent, bouncing around, just doing every crazy thing in his life that he wants to do now that he's free and he's got the independence to do it. He's going to join us. And he is a libertarian. Most people may have not seen this, but during the 2020 election, he's from the Phoenix area, in Phoenix, Arizona. And when Spike was passing through Phoenix to do an event, Nick interviewed on his Instagram account. Nick did a live interview with Spike when they were down in Phoenix, just, promoting the campaign, promoting Spike and Joe Jorgensen. It was pretty impressive. And I'm excited to meet him in person. I think it's going to be fun. And he's also going to be contributing to something on the main stage.
That's awesome. Real quick, just for the new viewers that are joining in, what organization are you referencing?
Students for Liberty, SFL, studentsforliberty.org, or go to libertycon.com to see about the flagship event that we're hosting February 7th through 8th next year, February 7th through 8th at the Westin Hotel in downtown Washington, D.C.
And Brian,
So we're talking about
I'm sorry,
Go ahead,
but
Andre.
not talking so much about names because you know everything about the event. There's one debate on Friday evening that I believe will be a showstopper. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Are you asking me? I was thinking you were going to talk about this.
No, I'm asking. That was me.
This is your quiz, Noel. We're asking you.
Yeah, we're asking you.
There's a debate.
Serving as a ladder.
There's a debate.
We're going to have an immigration debate, and it's going to be a good one about actually, I believe the title of it is Who Exactly Should the U.S. Be Letting Into the Country? And this debate
sounds to me like the debate will be between Spike and Pellegrino, but
it is not going to be between
wrong.
Spike and Pellegrino. I was going to mention Spike Cohen's also going to be there, but I work for Spike. That's kind of a given. Spike goes everywhere. Any event you go to, chances are Spike's going to be there. But no, this is going to be between two economists, two really good, well-respected economists, Daniel DiMartino from Venezuela and Brian Kaplan. And Daniel DiMartino is actually taking the role of we should not be letting just anybody into the country, that there should be restrictions on it. And Brian Kaplan is saying everybody contributes to the economy in their own way that adds a lot of value, far more value than what anybody would say is coming from the welfare system. And they're going to have this debate. And I want to see them go at it because it's a tricky debate. You hear so many different things from both sides of it, but we got two experts that are going to be on the main stage doing this, and I'm looking forward to it.
So let's just crayon this out, right?
Mhm.
Essentially what you're saying is that it's an open borders versus a vetted borders type of debate.
Yeah.
Look, again, this is like colorized down to the lowest format of the description and definition that it could have possibly be. Does that sound okay?
Pretty much, yeah. And it's going to be hosted
right.
by John Popola from the Emergent Order Foundation. I want to make sure I'm getting that right. I want to make sure I say their name right.
No, you're good.
Emergent Order Foundation. John Popola is the founder and CEO. He is going to open before the debate, and then he's going to be hosting it.
Okay. Before I get into, not going to get, I don't know these.
We don't have to
people,
get into it if you don't want to. I got to hold us to names.
Yeah.
I got to go through. This will, if we start talking about this, we'll be here for an hour longer.
I love it.
And it's already bedtime for Andre.
It's 40. Oh, my bad. Andre, do you have a time frame?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
No, but it is a little later
I'm
by
sorry.
him. I'm just like joking. I don't want to keep him up too late. We
Yeah.
probably have a meeting tomorrow. I'm not even sure. I'm sure there's a meeting on the calendar. I'll find it in the morning when I wake up.
But I want to ask this from a foreigner libertarian. What is your position on the border? Should it be? And I'm gonna give you three styles because that's the nuance that we have to work with, right? We have closed borders, we have open borders, or we have what our current Libertarian Party nominee suggests is open. I'm sorry. I mean, it is open borders, but Ellis style immigration. Out of those three, which Like, what do you think?
My personal opinion is I support freedom of movement, and anybody should be able to go anywhere at any time, especially when they're moving in and out. It could be business, it could be work. Our problem is that we have an immigration system in this country that is such a mess with so much bureaucracy that when people say you have to do things properly, you have to do it the right way can sometimes take over a decade and cost thousands and thousands of dollars and not make any sense. It cannot make any sense. I've had so many friends and so many people, married couples, families that get torn apart for the silliest reasons other than this is where the bureaucratic thing landed with, this dotted I and crossed T. It doesn't make sense. There's nothing about it that makes sense. It needs to be reformed. So I don't support the idea of just absolutely not knowing who's here and who's doing what. We should be knowing who's here. But the idea of putting up a wall is silly, because if you have the motivations, and I don't want to get too far into this because this is a separate issue, but when people look at things and they blame it on immigration, they'll say things like, we have a welfare system that's being taken advantage of. We have a problem with space, with housing. The hospitals are being, filled up in certain areas. Here's the problem. Those are all symptoms of it. The government creates those shortages in hospitals by limiting where hospitals can have, how many beds they can have, how many people they can bring in. Our government puts in these welfare systems in place that make it easy for anybody to misuse. The politicians in Washington, D.C. create these rules for themselves so they know how to get in and out of them. That's what they're there for. You talk about a lot of the housing problems and things getting crowded. Those are literally zoning laws. Every single problem that we have that comes from immigration is really rooted in some kind of problem with government trying to control who can work, who can do what. Somebody has to get a license to cut hair, whatever the silly thing is about it. That's where it usually stems from. So the problems with immigration are usually stemming from some other problem that's not being properly diagnosed. Nobody's looking at those issues. So that is where I want the focus to be on, is to reforming all of these other issues and not taking it out on the immigration problem. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, of course. That is a much more fleshed out libertarian answer than most.
And nobody talks about that because nobody thinks about all the other issues that come up. People are looking at the problem, right? And there's problems within the problems, right? Nobody wants to have a terrorist organization sneaking in, and of course, people are worried about things like viruses and stuff.
You have to vet people.
There's legitimate things in there, but all those other concerns. That's government corruption. That's government regulation. That's the usual garbage that we get from federal, state, local governments. And that needs to be recognized for what is and not taking out on the people that are looking to work and add value. Immigrants start more businesses than anybody else here, businesses that last and become successful. I mean, that's literally the American dream. So I want to support that and I want to get behind that. I hope that makes sense. I didn't want to go off on this too long.
No, you're good. You're good. But I do want to go to Andre. Your thoughts on my original question.
I absolutely
especially as somebody that's from another country, right? Where you might see a different form of immigration or immigration control. What do you think? Like, where we headed as a country and as the West?
When I was, let me think, 17, 18, and I was just figuring out the ideas. I was completely 100% for open borders, no rules attached. And I thought at that point that was the answer to all the problems when we discussed freedom of movement. But Brian got it perfectly, even for us in Brazil. Of course, the bureaucratic system behind what the U.S. poses for people who want to not even immigrate, but even visit the country legally is mind-blowing. Here in the chat, in the comment was up here before Legacy, Zach said it's bogged down with too much regulation, and that's it for us too, and that's how we look at it now. After the pandemic, there it is, and after the pandemic, the lines to get just a tourist visa to go to the US here in Brazil were over 2 years long. The incentives are not right. The incentives are not there for people to properly follow a system. Because I can say this from my personal experience, from knowing people who have gone through the process legally, of course. People want to do that. People don't want to get to the border and get deported. People don't want to have to go through that. No one wants. But the process and the incentives in the process are completely off and need to be reformed. Alongside, of course, of what Brian was saying before, there needs to be, this is not a single reform that needs to happen. There's a series of reforms the country needs to seriously consider, not only for people visiting, of course, but most importantly, to address the issue you've been facing this past few years.
So let me bring it back to a little bit more of a direct specificity of how we would love or like or dislike how this immigration system should run, right? Because the reality remains is that we don't have any of that. Okay, there's not even a remotely systematic step in that direction. What we have right now is a broken border in which both sides want to just use as a campaign tool in America specifically. I want to ask Brian about this first in regards to America, and then I want to ask Andre secondly if it looks anything if you're because I don't know the politics of Brazil. I know the politics of America, and I know that our politicians habitually run on a broken border that is crashing our system. You can't just allow everyone in and expect results to be okay. That's not realistic. That's actually detrimental and was the last phase of the Roman collapse. Unvetted borders. So, how do we survive the near 20 million or plus unvetted immigrants that are coming to the country? Had I don't want to make it too complicated, but I do want to ask, should we have done something different? And how do we deal with it now? I'm gonna ask you first, Brian, and then Andrew. I'm sorry, Andre. I'm gonna get to you and ask you how your system works. But go ahead, Brian.
I really don't want to get too deep into it because I didn't prepare for anything in this, but I will.
Sorry, I didn't ask you. I did. Hey, look, everybody. We're not prepared. Nothing here.
No.
Do
I look like a guy that does podcasts where I'm sitting here with the lighting in my living room? No, I hate going on podcasts, but I do this because I love you, and that's why I'm here.
I love you.
But a lot of these issues, you nailed it on the head when you said that nobody wants to fix anything because it continues to be a political football that everybody can play with and toss around and make it an issue. It's the same thing with the healthcare system in this country, right? It's the same thing with college student loans, which, by the way, the student loan crisis and the healthcare problem that we have are actually the same issue. They're just kind of they have different skin on it, but they're actually the same issue at the heart of it. All of these issues are the same thing. They're something that government doesn't actually want to solve because it doesn't benefit anybody in power to actually solve them. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. No. Keep going. You were on a roll there. That's why no, that's perfect.
No, I get on a roll and I'm going to start talking about people not allowed to have chickens in their yard in Minnesota. Like I'm going to go way down this thing. And I still got a whole list of names on LibertyCon I got to read here. I do not want to fall down rabbit holes. You will not trap me into rabbit holes today. Maybe when I come and see you around a fire pit down there in Mississippi, but not today.
It better be sooner than later, Brian. And for those of you that don't know, Brian and I have been very good friends for a long time. Many years now. Him and myself and Spike are just a cohort of obnoxiousness and fun and information. Brian is a wealth of knowledge. So when we
I'm
get
hiding
we're
it
already
very
at 40.
carefully.
No, you're not. We're already at 54 minutes now. And it's I'm not trying to stop it anytime soon unless Andre has a problem or Brian has a problem. But these are the people that we need to be listening to, because I don't ask these questions flippantly. I ask them directly because I know these people personally and I know they have the knowledge that they have. And I'm letting you hear what the actual problems of this country are. And that's not going to change anybody's vote by next week. Okay. But it can shape the future of the vision of how we should push forward on a better country that will resolve itself in a or result itself in a better world. I'm not a globalist. I'm not an isolationist. Yes, I'm America only. But when America is great as best as it can be, the entire world has a positive result. Am I wrong, Andre?
Good luck, Andre.
Yes, no, who knows? Do I know? I don't even speak English. But uh, down here for us, that has never been an issue in Brazil. You know, we've never came across anywhere close to an immigration crisis. However, especially with the situation in Venezuela in the last few years, we saw definitely a movement of people fleeing socialism, fleeing authoritarianism, to come to a little bit of a freer country. We're not a free country whatsoever. But currently down here for us, our main issue, and something you as Americans must be completely aware and not take for granted, is freedom of expression, censorship, and how politicians and institutions can work together to, well, pretty much get your rights restricted. And of course, now this is not even so much in debate in America as other issues, but I saw from outside that conversation happening here and there over the election, with glimpses of, yeah, we might censor, yeah, we might regulate social media, yeah, we might regulate here and there. And that is just another expression for censorship at the end of the day.
Okay.
What we know, and it doesn't really depend on where you live, where you come from, is that government overreach does not stop at their first try. And we should all be very aware of that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Why doesn't Brazil have an immigration issue like we do? And I don't mean legal immigration, or maybe it does involve that. But you said you don't have that off the top. So I'm wondering why. What is the reason why Brazil does not have a quote unquote immigration issue, be it legal or illegal?
I'll have to tell you guys the same thing Brian said before. I wasn't prepared for this discussion.
Yeah.
but we have let me say this. Of course, when we look at South America, we also must take into consideration the two Americas that exist down here. As a Portuguese speaking America, we are not the first destination of immigrants. Even in Venezuela, the country that suffered the most with immigration and movement there was in Brazil. The northern part of Brazil was Colombia at first, to the extent that they, I believe, had to, at one point, and I may be wrong here, so don't quote me on that, they had to secure their borders a little bit more in the process in this past few years, because of how many Venezuelans unfortunately had to leave their country due to socialism and Maduro's dictatorship there. So Brazil is not the first destination.
They were starving to death.
Correct. So Brazil is not the first destination for Spanish speaking Latin Americans. There's usually more movement between the countries here than coming to Brazil. Again, despite having a 10,000 mile ground border, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong, but the numbers are around that. We have a 10, and still we don't suffer with illegal immigration as much. Or border, in fact, or ground border suffers a lot with drug smuggling, contraband, that those issues, especially from countries in the region to Brazil, and Brazilian criminals leveraging their relationships in the region to have access to the Atlantic. That happens, but not so much people movement.
Yeah. That's fair. And I think no, look, everybody, but especially Andre and Brian, I wasn't trying to bait you into anything. I'm just having a conversation here. You're talking about things that brings up stuff in my mind, so I asked the question, right? That's it. But I think you bring up a great point in that your underlying. It's not even a point that you made. It's something I'm catching on to. Is that the immigration system isn't as bad because it's not as incentivized freely as what we have currently here, which, like Brian and I talked about, appears to be a clear political football. I said it was a campaign talking point, but a political football is a much better adjective. So, Brian, with that being said, what are we trying to achieve with the event?
We want to bring people out and have some fun. This is LibertyCon International. This is the chance for us to kind of show off what our students around the world have been doing. So like I said, Friday night, we're going to have the immigration debate. We're going to have Daryl Davis talk. Saturday, we're going to have breakout sessions. Some of them are sponsored by some amazing organizations that we're working with. Cato's going to be there. Reason Magazine's going to be there. And then we're going to have a lot of different speakers that are going to be on the main stage, lots of panel discussions, and there will be awards dinner at the end of the night, a big banquet that is going to focus on some of the best students and the organizations and the events that have happened in the last year. We always give out awards for these things. Andre knows a little bit more specifically about this, but that's going to be the feature because the focus is on the students. We're going to have a lot of students from all over America and many others around the world that are going to be there doing some of the breakout sessions and mingling with everybody, talking about their stories and what the challenges are they're fighting back home in their country or in their city. And LibertyCon International is a chance to focus on that, celebrate about those victories, and push more about the education and the empowerment for people to go forward and continue fighting things or lead the charge in their area for whatever it is they're trying to fix, they're trying to correct, whatever damage there's trying to be undone. And we're going to do that through fun.
And Brian, in other words, also, if you're a general attendee who wants a reality check of what fighting for freedom and for your liberty is all over the world, you must be at the Westin February 7th and 8th to hear the stories of students and hear the stories of your peers who also fight for freedom all over the world, who are doing that right now in their countries, in Venezuela, in Brazil, throughout the world. But also, if you've been to a lot of events and you've been to a lot of conferences in our movement, also rest assured that the experience we're building for our partners, who we thank so much for believing in our vision for the event and for our vision for the upcoming years, but also to our attendees, you will find an experience unmatched in any other event. And we want LibertyCon 2025 to set the tone for it to be one of the largest pro-liberty events. We expect over 1,000 attendees already in 2025. And with, promoting this here, I know we'll get 2,000-3,000 attendees. Who knows? So we should prepare, Brian, for the off-the-wire wave that will come in the upcoming days.
Andre, I'm assuming you're going to be there, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you're from Brazil.
Yeah. Last year we had people from 50 countries attending LibertyCon.
And where's it going to be held?
At the Westin Hotel downtown in Washington, D.C., February 7th and 8th. And February 9th, we know it's Super Bowl weekend. So that's Super Bowl. And let's see if there's enough interest. We may be able to pull something off for Sunday. If you want that experience, when you get your confirmation email, send us a message saying you want to see some Libertarian Super Bowl party, and we'll consider that internally.
There's going to be other little parties going around too, because that's what LibertyCon does, right? We're looking at other restaurants, things that are on site, off site. We're actually going to have live music. I should mention this: Daryl Davis, who's speaking on Friday night, he's going to play music Saturday night on the main stage after the dinner, after the awards is done. So we're going to have some live swing, jazz, rock music, and he's like, hey, if anybody wants to bring their guitar, their bass, somebody plays a tenor sax, bring them on stage. We're going to make it happen. So we're putting the word right out now to some of our local coordinators around the country, around the world. Hey, bring your saxophone, bring your guitar. If you want to do this, we're going to rock out the rest of that night and have fun. Oh, and I just realized something. Noel, do you remember a game that we played one time that you hosted on your show a few years ago?
Yes, I do.
What was that game you played?
We played Political Jeopardy.
Well, it was Liberty Jeopardy. And
Same
you hosted it.
Yeah.
Liberty Jet. Was that not one of the funnest things you ever did?
Oh, it was one of the best things I've ever done on air, for sure.
That is going to happen live on Friday night. 9 players, 9 contestants are going to go at it in Liberty Jeopardy. I'll be hosting it. I'm going to have the big black hat that I always wear, my black gambler, and it's going to be loud because I'm hosting it and everything I do is loud. It's going to be obnoxious. It's going to be fun. We're going to bring it up right to the edge. It's going to be a bunch of energy, and everyone's going to have a blast.
Well, we have to do that on air again very soon. Thank you for bringing that up.
We can do that again. We should find some players and do that again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Same.
Add some resilient questions right there and have me on so I can at least score a few points.
I am working so hard to make sure these questions are well-rounded enough for people around there. I don't know if our CEO, Wolf von Lauer, I don't know if Dr. Wolf von Lauer is going to play or not, but there'll probably be a Bitcoin thing up there. There'll probably be a Bitcoin category. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to play yet. I know Spike Cohen said he would play, and I've offered it to a few. Maybe Lars Mapstead's going to play. Somebody from Reason Magazine, Robbie Suave, host of Rising on the Hill, their daily web show Monday through Friday. Robbie Suave is going to be hosting LibertyCon, an alumni from Students for Liberty, by the way, very important. I'm going to see if I can coerce him into being one of the players. I don't know who's going to play yet. I'm excited, and I'm hoping we can start announcing those people over the next few months.
And this is for the live Liberty Jeopardy at the LibertyCon conference?
Yes, it'll be on stage. We're going to have 2 giant screens on each side of the stage. You're going to see the game board. We're going to have a table. 3 people are going to be on the spot. We're going to have buzzers. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
I got to work on I'm actually working out the buzzer system this week.
And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do with the event. Because if you go to an event and it's just like a day and a half, 2 days of sessions after sessions, you don't get to experience the event and the people there to the fullest extent. And that's what we want to do. We'll have amazing debates, sessions, or partners there or sponsors will also bring their A game to sessions and breakouts they are hosting. But we also want to have fun, and we want to do both. And I believe we will do that very well. And I'm super excited to welcome all of you to, again, the Westin downtown in Washington, D.C. Tickets now are available at libertycon.com for, if you're a student, only $19. And if you know any SFL volunteers in North America, you can even get a 50% discount. You just have to reach out to your friends there who are SFL local coordinators in North America, and they can get you a 50% discount. If you're a general attendee or not a student, tickets are at $49.
I only know one code off the top of my head that'll get you a discount right now. Spike. I know if you use the code SPIKE, you get a discount. I feel bad, but Spike, S-P-I-K-E, Spike will get you a discount. I know this because I know these things. And by the way, one thing I want to build on what Andre said, all the different sponsors, all the organizations, the exhibitors, this is a networking event. This is networking. If you're a part of an organization, if you're a podcaster, if you're anybody, you're looking to meet people. We had a guy from Australia come last year, and he set up shop in the corner and got so many interviews with so many people. John Stossel even walked up to him on Saturday night and says, "Hey, you're from Australia, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I want you to interview me. Come on, let's go." And he walked over there with the drinks, sat down, and they did an interview. It's anything can happen. And that's the fun of why I like doing this, because it's so exciting and there's so much action going on, and it's almost tricky to keep up with it. And I feel sad because I'm working the event. I'm going to have my big black gambler hat on. You'll see it. And I wear the hat so you can spot me because I'm running around, right? I'm getting speakers of the main stage. I'm basically running the whole main stage, running the show. So I don't get to mingle as much, but I'll be running through the lobby going to get somebody. We've got congressmen arriving fashionably late or so as they claim upstairs. I'm getting them down in a secret elevator, doing all these things. And I see fun stuff, and it's like, I want to go talk to that person. I want to go do this. And I never get to do it, but I hear about it from everybody else afterwards. The networking is one of the best things you can get out of this when you arrive. Not just taking part in the fun and being able to experience all the fun things, the educational things, the training that happens, the breakout sessions, but the networking is key. You can make really good friends at events like this.
And I almost forgot, if you're a student, you can go to our website and there will be a scholarship section there. You can apply to a travel scholarship if you're a student to come meet us in DC for the conference. So it's a first come, first serve. Mm-hmm. So you should run, because we have our own students as well who are applying for scholarships. But it will be a pleasure to welcome all of you and do it quickly. And let me say this. We are live now. It's October 29th. West, just for 2 days. So if you're watching this or if you're listening to this episode from October 31st on, if you use the code Off the Wire at LCI, LibertyCon International, you also get a 50% discount till the end of November. All right?
Really?
He's creating it right now, or at least when we get off this, he will.
That's incredible. Thank you, brother. That's awesome. Andre, thank you very yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, give them the website, the information, and the promo code again. If you don't mind, I'll put you on solo mode.
By the way, I saw Sean in the comments put down the code should be Tasha's husband. I believe Tash is going to be there as well. I mean, she's not speaking, but wherever Spike is, Tash is usually not far behind.
Yeah, always. Yeah, it was a funny comment. Okay, go. Give us all that information again, Andre, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. So you can go right now to libertycon.com. You'll find all of our confirmed speakers there. In the upcoming days, you'll see more speakers coming to our website. Check Students for Liberty on SFL Liberty on Instagram. We're posting everything about the event there on our social media as well. If you're a student, you can get a scholarship to attend the conference. We want to see all of you at the Westin downtown in Washington, D.C., February 7th and 8th. We will talk about our victories from the past, but definitely the challenges of the future and how we'll overcome them as libertarians we are. And if you use the code Off the Wire at LCI from October 31st on, you will get a 50% discount if you're a student or if you're a general attendee. So tickets can go for tops $20, $25.
Andre, you are the man. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much for
By the way, Zach just said that I see Dolph Ziggler will be there. Yes, Nick Namath is going to be there, which he doesn't do these things that often. Nick Namath, like I said, back in 2020, he actually interviewed Spike Cohen on the trail when Spike passed through Phoenix. So yes, Dolph Ziggler, Nick Namath is going to be at LibertyCon. We have a lot of great names, guys. Go to libertycon.com and just scroll down. You'll see we've got some amazing economists. Like I said, Daniel DiMartino and Brian Kaplan are going to be there. Anthony Davies is going to be there. Deidre McCloskey is going to be there. David Friedman, the co-founder and former CEO of Whole Foods, John Mackey, is going to be there. It's going to be fun, everyone.
And you can go to make sure I'm putting this up here. I think so. Off the Wire at LCI, and you'll get a 50% discount via promo. Is that correct?
Just type in Off the Wire. What, at the checkout, am I right, Andre?
Now that'll be the code. So it's Off the Wire at LCI, LibertyCon International.
Oh, okay.
And you get a 50% discount till the end of November.
Okay.
Wow.
So a whole month.
Whole month. Incredible. 50% off at libertycon.com. You guys are absolutely, I mean, I like had so much more to talk about, but we're already at one. And look, Andre, if you're new to my show, let me be honest with you. When me and Brian get to talking, we have to cut each other off. Okay. So, but
I get it. I get where we're coming from. So don't worry.
I'm bringing my guitar when I come to Mississippi too. I just remembered I'm bringing my guitar.
Oh God! I thought you were bringing your guitar now to the show.
Well, that too. I'm bringing my guitar and my bass. I'm driving to DC, so in case we need another guitarist or a bass player on stage with Daryl Davis, I'm going to learn the songs. I will be prepared to go live if I need to Saturday night. But when I go to Mississippi, I'm bringing my guitar because there's going to be a fire pit, and Noel's got a nice little piece of property, and we are going to sit, and he is going to drink beer, and I'm going to drink carbonated water, and we are going to sit around the fire pit, and we are going to play guitar and sing badly.
You're going to drink carbonated water. I'm going to be drinking sweet tea.
That works. I don't drink. I'm always used to being the guy that doesn't drink anywhere. I will drink unsweetened tea. I love a sweet tea. I used to get, if I can just spend a minute on this, I used to get shit from people when I moved down here in the South because I would always order unsweet tea. I love sweet tea. I'm just trying to take care of my health. There's sugar in everything. There's sugar in pizza and pasta sauce. There's sugar in chicken soup. When you buy it from places, you have to cook everything at home to just eat good food. So I try to cut down on my sugar, so I drink unsweetened tea. And I had somebody down here in Tennessee, some good people I hung out with, and I ordered unsweetened tea, and everybody in the bar was like, "Ugh, how could you do that?" And this one guy said, "We're known for our sweet tea down here in Tennessee." I'm like, you know what else you're known for down here? Diabetes, obesity, heart disease. Like I love sweet tea, but I choose to do the unsweet route. So we will be caffeinated till like 2:00 in the morning with guitars. The neighbors are gonna love it. They may say otherwise.
Yeah.
Down, they're gonna love it. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna do it right here in my my studio that you guys can only see a fraction of it. You're only seeing about 4% max of it. There's a 96% that you can't see. We'll have a bunch of fun.
I'm actually looking forward to that. That is actually kind of fun.
Well, I can't wait for you to be here, bro. We're love you to death. My wife loves you to death. My kids love you. For those of you that don't know, I habitually try to have Brian Scott Lambrick on. He's Spike Cohen's #1 man. Spike Cohen and I are very good friends. Brian Lambrick and I have been friends since the first time we've talked. He's one of the best human beings I've ever met. He desperately tries to say behind the scenes so that he doesn't get too much attention. The guy is amazing. I'm not just saying that.
He's a beast.
I'm telling you, he's a beast. He's a really good friend. He's just one of the best human beings that you'll be able to get close to. So
okay, I'm going to stop you before you keep going on this, and I'm going to stop you right there because I love you. But I just, without going into too much detail, because nobody needs to know anything, I really appreciate you being there for me these last 2 years. I really appreciated your friendship. These last 2 years, you were you were more important than you'll ever realize, and I appreciate that.
Well, honestly, I'm sorry I wasn't there more often.
No, you were there. You were there when I needed you, and that's all that matters. It was all good. So, but hey, and you're here again now, and I appreciate you for this opportunity. Andre was a natural at this. You did fantastic, man.
Yeah. Killed
I'm
it.
loud and I go all over the place. I talk a bunch of nonsense, but you stuck right to the point. You were fantastic at this.
Guys.
Yep. Killed
Thank you
it.
so much for
Andre.
having me. But let me say this: what a beautiful way to wrap up the episode with you guys showing your friendship and how much you love each other. So it's very, very nice to see that, and I'm glad to be part of this and could see this and being able to see this live. So thank you so much for having me.
No,
And this
thank you so
friendship
much.
ends at LibertyCon when he steps in the ring with me. Nick Namath in my corner and Glenn Jacobs in his corner. I am going to take him down. I'm going to take that title. I'm going to take that check engine light off the wall, actually. I like that.
Yes.
Good luck with that. Andre,
Oh, God.
Are we
Why?
good? Are we calling it a night? Man, I still got a little bit of work
Yeah.
to do before I call it a night.
Okay, well, yeah, let's go ahead and call it a night then. Andrew, Andre, sorry. Good grief.
That's all right.
Andre, please give us your last pitch. How can we follow you? How can we support you? Anything and everything that you need, let us know.
Thank you so much, man. Again, Noel, thank you so much for having me, having Brian here to talk about SFL a little bit, general issues, but most importantly about LibertyCon. LibertyCon is SFL's flagship event or international conference that happens every year, and 2025 won't be different. On February 7th and 8th at the Westin downtown in Washington, D.C., we'll have a full program Friday and Saturday. And as I said before, we know this is Super Bowl weekend. So if you show enough interest, we may even do a Super Bowl libertarian party on Sunday. You will find networking opportunities, incredible sessions, an incredible exhibitor hall with all of our amazing partners who graciously support our vision for the event. And you will come across over 1,000 like-minded individuals from many, many countries. So this is an opportunity for you to either get a reality check and see how people are fighting for liberty elsewhere, or to sit down and get to understand what are the next challenges we as a movement, we as libertarians will face to fulfill what we as libertarians fulfilled our whole lives, making the impossible inevitable. So go to libertycon.com, get your tickets right now. And if you're watching this after October 31st, I know you can wait, but if you're too excited, you can buy your tickets full price. But if not, from October 31st on, you have a full month to buy your tickets for student and general admission with a 50% discount using Off the Wire at LCI, LibertyCon International. So Off the Wire at LCI is right here on the screen. And you get that for a whole month. So till the end of November, you can get a 50% discount in all of those 2 tickets.
Andre, you are absolutely incredible. If it's okay with you, I would actually love to have you on more often.
Oh, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Come on. Whenever.
Okay.
Whenever you need.
Very good.
Just give me a list of topics.
Yeah. So that's kind of how, at some points I'm kind of a bit of a Joe Rogan where I'll just trail off and find other things to talk about. But yeah, for sure. I would love to have you on more often. And we look forward to absolutely how successful your event is going to be at libertycon.com. And you can get a 50% discount, which is crazy to me, from Off the Wire at LCI, my own show. I was not expecting that. That just blows my mind. You can get a
surprise.
50% Yeah. You can get a 50% discount by using my show. That's crazy at LCI. How can people, or where do you want people to follow you personally, to follow you in your track in this quest for liberty?
Oh, you can. My professional handle is at Andfreo, so ANDFREO. My last name there. You can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. It'd be my pleasure to connect and talk more.
Awesome. Muito obrigado, amigo.
Muito obrigado.
I'm going to mix up my Portuguese and Spanish there, but that's
that was 100% Portuguese. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Brian, Noel, for having me. Looking forward to the next few times we talk, and looking forward to seeing all of you at LibertyCon.
Absolutely. This is gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
Brian.
Yes.
Your last pitch.
My last. You mean for LibertyCon? Come out and have fun, man.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. is kind of a nasty city, but there's some really good restaurants. I mean, some of the best restaurants I found are in Washington, D.C. You need to be there. There's actually an Italian restaurant that Spike and I both absolutely love, and I'm hoping I'll get to go there with him this year. We're going to see when both of us arrive.
What are you expecting, honestly, in D.C.?
What do you mean? What are we expecting?
Let me ask you this, because I wanted to ask Andre this. What do y'all think the result of this election is going to be? Is there even going to be like an ability to have this is
the fun thing, and I got to straighten my laptop out. This is what happens when you don't do podcasts. I'm sitting here on a laptop in my chair.
Andre look much better than you.
Oh, I'm an ugly, and they're these handsome devils that have fantastic setups, and then Brian shows up in his recliner with comic books on the right side of him. So the thing about LibertyCon is it's actually happening about 2 weeks after the inauguration, and I don't know what's going to come out of it. I have no idea. I'm not counting on anything, but I think it's going to be wild. I think it's going to be wild at this year's LibertyCon. I think there's going to be something exciting coming out of it. There's going to be an energy there. There's going to be some new people that I think are going to be elected to the House, and some of them are very Liberty friendly if they win, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring them into our orbit. I'm actually almost positive 1 or 2 of them will be in our orbit, and that'll be good. Don't know if they'll be there in time because it's literally 2 weeks after the inauguration, but we're going to see. But Students for Liberty is it's so much fun, and that's why I love being part of it. I love being part of You Are the Power, and I love being part of Students for Liberty. It gives me like a good feeling inside to see the great things that come out of this work. You know Javier Milei, right? The president of Argentina?
Well, of course.
If you look at some of the things when he was going around the country and he was campaigning early on, he was wearing a Students for Liberty pin on his lapel. That's the outreach that SFL has across the world that most people don't realize. Because in America, there's a big competition for liberty organizations all over the place. But around the world, sometimes we're the only game in town, and we're the only ones that are pushing some of these things that, quite frankly, are threatening to some of those governments. You know, the idea of a free market without regulation from the government, from the people that want to control it while they're robbing their people blind in some of these countries, it's pretty damning. So I love it.
Okay, I know we're running late here. You got work to do, but I'm just curious.
I got work to do tonight. I'm still sitting
I know. One last question, real quick. How can SFL actually have an impact on like these problems that you talk about, like overspending, etc.?
There's a lot of different ways it happens, and it's different in the country where it is, where a lot of the students are happening. So in Africa, a lot of the students, they're being called the cheetah generation because they're moving so fast. In many different countries across Africa, SFL has been working with so many students that have, they've gone through college, they've gone through the Students for Liberty program, and then they graduate. And some of them get elected to office, or they get appointed to smaller positions, which eventually, sometimes being appointed to a low-level position, you have influence in government. You can have influence over things like regulations, everything from a zoning regulation to something with a business. And a lot of these kids, they grow up, they become adults, they start their own nonprofits, they start their own businesses, and they have real change in their communities. And we've seen this. And it's really good to see a lot of those things happen. You see some of these students fight for simple things like freedom of speech on their campus, depending on where they're at. It's real change. And not to complain about things that happen in the US, because libertarians have done some amazing things in the US. But a lot of times you'll see people go on Twitter and just launch into the fight on Twitter. And with a lot of these kids in the rest of the world in their countries, being able to go and argue on Twitter is a luxury, where these kids go through some really damaging situations in their country. They're out protesting because their government is going to pass a bad law that's going to make it hard for people to get information or to communicate or to talk freely about their opinions. And now the police are coming out there with shields and tear gas coming after them in these countries. And you're lucky if it even gets reported. Like, at least here in America, it becomes a sensation for weeks. But in a lot of these countries, they're really fighting the good liberty fight right on the front lines. And it's great for a 45-year-old guy to see, like, the 20-something-year-old kids do these things. And then when they graduate out of it, they start businesses, they form organizations. You'll see them, Robbie Suave working at Reason magazine as a senior editor and having his own show at the Hill. You'll see some of our SFL alumni everywhere in situations. A lot of our alumni are actually going to be at LibertyCon because they get together. We have an alumni program where we keep in contact with them. This kid Martian takes it very seriously. He runs it there. And I'm not sure what he has in store this year, but there'll be something, a VIP room or a party or a get together for a lot of the alumni. But it's good to see it happen. And I do appreciate that. And I like being an older guy with what I do. I work in PR. I do the programming for LibertyCon. I make sure press releases go out around the world. They send me a lot of this information and I format it and I get it out there and I help get media for some of these things. It's nice to be a part of it in your own way,
Yeah. I can imagine it's exceptional to be a part of it in your own way. Sounds to me like would be a really satisfying position to be in.
You and I are going to have some conversations later, man. You got to be in this fight. We're going to have some conversations off the wire, off the wire. We're going to have some conversations because you need to get into these fights, man. I want to talk about this with you later.
Oh, I'm down. I'm there. You already know my biggest obstacle is the regular job. So,
dude, you're a family man taking care of a family. How many kids you got now? Like 12?
4. 12.
Do you and Sonny have any other hobbies down there in Mississippi? What else do you guys do for fun? Like, I mean, you got a family. Huh?
We do this?
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait to be in that studio. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
No, yeah, I can't wait I can't wait to have you. And also we do I actually coach my youngest or my middle girl's soccer team. So that's another hobby that we do. We do have actually other things than having kids, but no, I can't wait to have you. I can't wait for the LibertyCon Festival to kick off. I'm going to post that link one more time for everybody to see. It's libertycon.com for those of you listening later. It's libertycon.com. So basically libertyconvention.com, but shorten the convention to con. Brian, last words.
Noel, I love you. You're a fantastic human being. Most people will never see that through a podcast. I'm glad I got you in my life, and thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for letting me bring on Andre. He's never done something like this before, and he freaking killed it.
No, he absolutely killed it. And bro, you are one of the best human beings I've met in my life, and I can't thank God enough to have you here.
I just fake it really well. I fake being a good guy so well that it's believable.
No, you don't. No, you
don't. That's what I do.
No, you don't. You can't help it. You're just a great human being, and I love having you on every time. And look, for everybody listening, let me illustrate for you what I'm talking about. Brian and I have been very good friends for many years. I've had him on my show like 3 times because he doesn't want this. He refuses to come on. He literally like, nah, just have Spike on instead. I'm like, bro, I want you on. Spike Cohen is my most frequent guest of all time. I want to talk to Brian because that's
So-
how good of a human being this guy is, and he wants to remain backstage. So thank you.
Can I
And
talk
of
about some of the
course,
stupid stuff I did last time?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll do this quickly, and then I do got to run. But a couple times when I was on Noel's show, look, I don't do podcasts that often, and I feel like it's a weird format. So I try to find ways to make it interesting. So what I did is I'd be talking to him, and I'd take a drink, and then like 4 minutes later, I'd have another cup, and then I'd have another cup, and then there'd be like a can of water, and I'd have. And what's funny is people started to notice in the chat, and I was waiting for it to come up in the chat. How many things is he drinking of? Your wife, your woman went back, because I was lying. I'm like, no, dude, I got the same. Actually, I kept bringing up the same cup from the Joe Jorgensen campaign. Joe Jorgensen gave me a Yeti cup, and I'm like, dude, this is the cup I got. And then I'd sneak in another one, and then you started catching it. And your wife took screenshots and made an image of me with like 9 different cups. And that killed me that she went back. She scrolled back and got the screenshot. He's full of shit. Like, she put that together.
Yeah.
There was another one where I don't know if it was you, because I've only done a handful of podcasts. And to talk about Chris Darnell, if we can, because I love Chris and I miss him dearly. But I did bootleg.
Yeah.
There was one time I did his show. I think another time with yours, I had straws. I'm like, dude, I got the same cup, but I had a straw, and the straw kept changing. I did Jason Lyon once, and I had a lemon wedge. And then, like, every few sips, there'd be another, and then another. And by the end, it's just a giant cup of lemon wedges. And he didn't pick up on it until like 5 or 6 wedges. And I was on Chris's. I believe Chris's was the one where I had a flower pot behind me with a flower. And I was in my office chair, and I'd moved my office chair. And my wife at the time, I believe she was on the floor, and she would hide there, and I'd move my chair, and she'd pull the flower out and put another flower in. And then I'd turn my chair again. He never noticed the flower in the background was changing. There was like 7 flowers. He never noticed it.
No. You know what the most ironic part of this whole scenario that you just laid out is?
What's that?
That you didn't need all that to be interesting. You are an incredible human being. You are extraordinarily interesting just with you and your personality. You're amazing. And I can't, bro. Love
I appreciate it. You know what?
Maybe
we can do a show together when I'm down there, and I can actually when I tell stories is when it's like very entertaining.
Yes, it is.
Spike and I getting lost at Glenn Jacobs' office in Knox County. Trying to get Spike arrested in Florida. Like, I've got a bunch of stories that I can go through about some things, even some of the fights that I managed to play a couple TV networks against each other in Illinois during a governor race. I managed, there was a guy named Cash Jackson, ran for governor in Illinois.
We talk about Cash so much.
I managed his campaign, and I managed the whole ticket in Illinois. And I sent them down to a smaller city, and I managed to get the newspapers and TV stuff to fight against each other. And then I got him media everywhere. It actually worked out really well. I got lots of good stories I could talk about. I love talking about that stuff. And maybe we could do that in person, and we can have a guitar and we can strum and make some noise and just irritate the audience for like a few hours.
I love it, dude. I can't wait for you to be here. I can't wait to hug your neck again. For those of you that don't know, I'm dead serious. This is not some. Most of you, or 99.9% of you, have probably never heard of Brian Scott Lambrick. He's one of the best human beings in my life. I love him so much. I can't wait for you to be here so I can hug your neck again, and we can have whatever fun that the time allows, because you're such an extraordinarily busy person fighting for liberty. So this guy's exceptional. He's great as a human being, and he's fighting for liberty. Brian, thank you so much, brother.
You're way too kind. I love you, man. I'm going to get back to work. You have a fantastic night. Say hi to the woman for me, and I'll see you soon, okay?
Yep, I'll tell Sonny you said hi right now.
Take care, man.
Love you, bro. Incredible. Always exceptional. And I literally can't suggest for you to go find Brian Scott Lambrick. That's Brian Scott Lambrick. He's going to hate me for doing this. But go find him everywhere you can. That is a great man. I love him to death. He's probably my best political friend outside. Him and Sean Collins, and well, I've got so many. I'm gonna offend people if I don't name all of them, but you saw this right here, right? Genuine, human, exceptional. Brian Scott Lambert, and then let's check in with the organization that they've been promoting, because that's obviously playing gangbusters on a brilliant level. So, with that said, I love you. I'll check you out Thursday, same time, same channel, #off the wire, and I am